Have you ever wondered that you are building wealth the right way? If not, the chances you're probably not using the best strategy to increase your odds of success. Hi, my name is Derek. I'm a product manager in tech, and today I want to share with you an amazing framework that I came across recently to make sense of building wealth and what is the best strategy for each step of your wealth life. Believe it or not, yes, there's different steps in your wealth life. Well, before that though, let me tell you a short story, and I'm sure that you might be able to relate. It was 2016 in sunny California. I was working in a tech company, and I came across my friend and my really good coworker, Jennifer, who worked as a software engineer really hard. And one time, I was going to the campus, going to the office for lunch, and believe it or not, yes, 2016 there was like free lunch on campus, and she was there. She was there alone, sitting in front of her computer and writing code. And I was shocked because the floor is so quiet. There's no one else except her. And she's working so hard. At that time, I believe she's probably writing like 2 times or 3 times more, lines of code than than her peers. So, but unfortunately, when it comes to promotion, she wasn't able to get the opportunity to get promoted. And why is that, right? I was also very baffled, but until then I understand actually this is quite normal because she's playing a very different game than other people who are looking for getting promoted, right? So simply put, what got her here was not able to take her to the next level. So back to the wealth building. Why we're talking about this? Well, you will see it later, but let me just show you a little bit about what the wealth ladder I was talking about. The wealth ladder is a framework for making sense of wealth building, like I said. Now, it comes from a book called The Wealth Ladder by Nick Maggiulli, like this one. I really like that. I think it published recently, and I just finished the book. And this is the same. He's the same author of the book, Just Keep Buying. Now, let me first describe what that wealth ladder is, and then we're gonna have some discussion. Now, the way that he defined a wealth ladder is actually very interesting. So he looked at a wealth level based on net worth. Net worth is basically your, what you own minus what you owe. And he split it into 6 different levels, and they're kind of like multiplier of 10. So the first level is between net worth less than $10,000, and the second level is the net worth between $10,000 to $100,000, and the third level is between $100,000 to 1 million, right? So it's 10x. And the next level, level 4, is between 1 million to 10 million. And level 5 is between 10 million to 100 million. And the last level is basically 100 millions and above. So this is kind of interesting. Other than the level numbers, he also give it a very interesting name. It gives you some implication about whoever on each level. For example, if you're on level 1, that means your net worth is less than $10,000. What it means that you're probably living a paycheck to paycheck life. If you are in level 2, you'll probably have some sort of like grocery freedom. That means you don't need to worry about grocery price when you go to grocery shopping. And at the third level, you might have something called restaurant freedom. That means you don't need to worry about dining out and going to which restaurant because of the price, and so on and so forth. And the next level, vacation freedom, similar idea. And the next level, home freedom, basically meaning that you can afford dream home in almost everywhere in the country, for example. And the last level, called it impact freedom, meaning that you can doing something impactful for any cause that you would like to with the money. So it's quite straightforward, but some of the very interesting things that I learned through that particular ladder was it's actually quite counterintuitive. For example, like for level 4, some people might be thinking that, hey, there's a lot of level 4 basically is millionaire, right? You might have a lot of young millionaires in their 20s and 30s, but the data actually show that this is quite rare, right? Because the median, the 50th percentile of household age at level 4, meaning that you have between $1 million to $10 million, is actually 62. 62, think about it. Like, that's the median. That's the 50 percentile of people in that particular wealth level, right? So that's definitely not the typical young millionaires, right? In a lot of people's mind. So why do I actually like this framework is because it's such a great analogy to the job ladder. So there's the three things I think about when it comes to a job ladder, right? Job ladder tells you one thing, well, what it means to get to the next level, right? The second thing is sort of what is your terminal level. Like, once you hit there, you can probably stay there forever if you really want to. And the last thing is that you, as a professional, you do need to own this. Own how to navigate different levels in the job ladder. I think this is kind of true in the wealth ladder. But let me just unpack that a little bit. What it means to get to the next level. Well, that kind of related to the story we talked about in the beginning of the video, that we were saying that my coworker, my friend, who worked really, really hard, but cannot get promoted to the next level. Now, the reason for it is because she was a mid-level developer, a mid-level engineer, and the job responsibility for a mid-level developer is to write a lot of code, doing launches and stuff like that. Now, that's all fair, right? But let's say if you do 2 times more of this like mid-level engineer work, it probably won't make you a senior engineer. The reason for that is, at least the job ladder at the company that I was working at articulates very clearly that in order to get promoted into a senior engineer, you need to lead a small team, and you also need to write a lot of design, right? Technical design, whatever that means, really. But I think the important point that I try to hit here is that doing twice of this mid-level developer work probably won't make you a senior developer. You are essentially playing a very different game. So having a clear job ladder tells you what it means to get to the next level, and that's clarity that I really, really appreciate. Now, the second thing I was talking about is terminal level. So in your career later, you can go up and up and up until you hit CEO level, or become an owner, whatever. But at which level do you really, really say, actually, I think I'm satisfied, I feel enough, right? So I think that's where the job ladder is very powerful, because it actually tells you what the terminal level is, right? Once you're there, you are not, you don't have the mandate to keep going, keep working, go up level, right? And you can stay forever until you really wanted to retire in a traditional age, right? So the last bit is that you really need to own it. Now, you are the one that ultimately own your career in your professional life. Yes, you might have a good manager. That's great. That's awesome. They might coach you. But it is still you who initiate everything if you want to get a promotion. Well, guess what? In financial life, it's actually much more difficult because you need to be your own coach, right? Don't outsource any financial decision to someone else. No, that's for another day, but don't do that. Okay, cool. Now, I kind of go back to the old saying about this wealth ladder idea, right? It's just this very simple model. It's so simple, right? Its simplicity actually is something that got me interested in it and so powerful, right? But just like the old saying goes, all models are wrong, but some are more useful than others because it captured the essence of the reality. I think it captured like 3 things really well. First, it captures that wealth building follows exponential growth. Second, it captures the money as a relative concept, which we can talk a little bit more later. And last, it captures that we need to adopt different strategies at different level, right? So, for example, what do I mean by exponential growth, right? So at some point in your life, right, initially all your wealth was built is through labor, right? Through, your W-2 incomes and so on and so forth, right? That's great. But at some point, your wealth building, it's become a doubles game, right? Like you just can't okay, based on my investment return, how long does it take to double my wealth, right? So it's a really, really different. And, as you grow, higher and higher in that particular wealth ladder, this become more true. It really makes sense, not like thinking it as a linear growth, but more exponential growth. So that's why each level was separated by 10x. Second, it captures money is a relative concept. The reason for it is because like $1 for a person who is living paycheck to paycheck might be a lot. It might be a lot. But for most people, $1 probably doesn't mean anything. Also, like if I give you $1,000, it means a lot if you're in level 1 or level 2, right? Because if you're level 2, chances are, 1,000 is like 10% of your net worth. That's a lot. But it might not mean much to Jeff Bezos, right? So it's really a relative concept. And there's one thing more beautiful about this particular framework is that the author actually derived something called 0.1% rule. What it means is that 0.1% of your net worth, it's the amount of money that you can spend guilty-free every day, right? So think about it. If you have $10,000, right, and 0.01% of $10,000 is $1. And if you have $10,000 net worth, spending $1 per day isn't really a big deal. Now, it's a relative concept, right? So let's say if you're a millionaire, you have 1 million. And basically, you can afford to spend roughly $100 every day, guilty-free. And assuming that you invest your net worth, right? So, but it's just such a simple, powerful concept, and also shows sort of the relativity of different levels of wealth ladder. Third thing, like we mentioned earlier, it captures that we need to use different strategy at different level. So this is kind of interesting because for a lot of people, growing to different level of wealth ladder, you should actually adopt different strategy, because if you just like keep doing what you've been doing, it probably won't take you to the next level. Just like what we were talking about my coworker earlier, right? You can do 2x and 3x and maybe 10x of the current level work. It probably won't propel you to the next level. I think it's like a directionally correct framework about those different strategy at different levels. So let me just like talk about what are the different level of strategy you can adopt as you go up. Now, if you're in level 1 to level 2, what is the best way to do it? Like you're going to paycheck to at least have like $10,000 net worth. The best way to do it is try to, get some work and learn some skills that doesn't require a lot of money, right? That's interesting, right? Doesn't require a lot of money because you invest in your education, for example, very costly education, it might not pay off, and it might not be worth it, given like there's not much money left for a person in level 1. Now, for level 2, that's kind of interesting. If you're in level 2, you want to go to level 3. The best strategy to do that is actually invest in some sort of marketable skills and education. For example, you might want to go to business school, get a professional degree, or go to coding bootcamp. Basically, the idea is that at this level, you can have some level of stability, and you can afford education to build up your marketable skills, and that is actually will dramatically increase your income. And how do you actually go from level 3 to level 4? Which is the strategy that the author's first book was talking about. Just keep buying, right? You need to buy income producing assets, right? That's the only way to get you to level 4. But unfortunately, when you actually get to level 4, it's so difficult to go from level 4 to level 5. In fact, this is probably the hardest level to escape from. It's for most people, that's sort of the terminal level, right? We're talking about if we took the analogy of job ladder. So you do need to decide whether you wanted to, stay there or you wanted to move to a different level. But the idea, if you really, really wanted to go from level 4 to level 5, the more typical strategy for that is to start your own business or start or join a business that you can own a significant equity. You can do the math, right? If you're 1 million, you got some decent return. And exactly, if you do the exponential growth calculation, compound interest, and so on and so forth, it would take you probably around 30 years to get to level 4. Granted that you are already a millionaire, right? So that's really hard. So most people just getting from the paycheck, W2, probably won't be able to get them to level 5. So really, what you need to do is to start your own business at that point. The most typical way is to launch a business, sell it for a few $1,000,000 and let it compound. And then by the time you hit like 65 to 70, something like that, you probably will be already hitting like $10 million, of course, inflation adjusted number by that time. Now, how do you actually get to the final level, right? From level 5 to level 6. And the way that you actually need to do it, if you want to grow above 100 million, the authors basically says that the only way that you do it is to scale a business, basically make it larger and bigger, right? Not just like launch a business, a few million business and sell it. That's not enough, right? That's where I think it's so beautiful. It just captures why we need different strategy at different level. And finally, the actionable insights from here. First, check out the book, evaluate which level you're at and whether you wanted to grow to the next level. That's important, like what you actually want. And do you hit your terminal level or do you want to go further? Second, well, if so, assuming that you do want to go to the next level, can you brainstorm what you might want, right? Doing the same thing over time, do different things or do things differently, and that matters. I will be publishing more contents like this, and if you really enjoy this, let me know and comment below, subscribe, and I will have regular update in my channel. Thank you so much.